It is the 28th of August. God, summer's almost over. Always flies by so fast. And there's Drago. Another Drago dog walk talk. Drago. Drago. Choo. Yeah, we just saw a big horse. Drago's afraid of big horses. They freak him out. The horses don't give a damn about him. They don't look at him. But he freaks. Yeah, this big dog freaks when he sees a horse. You barely hold him and goes nuts trying to run away. So at the end of summer is giving us a little bit of taste of summer. Really, it's been a very, well, July was a very hot month. It was in lower mid-30s. But June was rainy in the teens, lower 20s at best. And August was rainy in the lower teens, in the teens, lower 20s at best. So a pretty crappy summer overall. Though April was pretty warm, and so was May. So I guess summer's moved now to the April, starting in April. But anyways, enough for the Weather Channel. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we can start with Clown World right off the bat. Trump made an announcement yesterday. He has now stopped 7 wars. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He is the ultimate peacemaker. There has never been a peacemaker in the world the size of Trump. That's right. 7 wars in 6 months. He has stopped 7 wars. We're not quite sure which wars, but there were 7 of them, damn it. Last week it was 6, this week it's 7. I can only imagine how many wars he will have stopped by the time his term is up, or even by the time 1 year's up. I mean, my God, he's probably going back in time to stop wars in the past. That's right. Trump is the ultimate peace candidate. He doesn't deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. He deserves all of them. You need to go back, strip everyone else of them, and give them all to Trump, because this man stops wars. He starts a few of them, but he stops them right off the bat. And he stops them, but, you know, kind of like, I smack you upside the head, don't you smack me back? Oh, don't you smack me back? We're at peace now. You know, it's that kind of approach to stopping wars. Yes, that's right. Trump stopped wars. And we got Woodcock now. The Russian-Ukrainian conflict, well, it's not officially a war, but, you know, people shooting back and forth at each other. It's war on a large scale. But the Russian-Ukrainian conflict will now be over by the end of the year. We know that. So I guess that's going to be what, like war number 8, but by that point it may be war number 12 that Trump has stopped, or maybe number 20, you know, whatever we can guess at. It'll be a lot. No man in history has stopped so many wars as Trump. Trump literally just looks at people and they go, yeah, war's over. And it's actually worked. I'll give him one. I'll give him one where he definitely stopped. Well, I wouldn't say it's a war, but a conflict of sorts. Is, as I've mentioned before, it's the Chinese-Indian pissing contest. People may remember the 1950s, there was a Chinese-Indian border war. Yes, and China seems to have gone past it, and the Indians kept it as a sore point. And occasionally you get wall-on-wall fist fights on the border. Wall-on-wall means everybody lines up on one side, lines up on the other side. It's a Russian term. I don't know, maybe some other countries have it too. But 2 sides line up and just start beating the living crap out of each other. It's not like what you see in with these gangbangers. If they're getting a fight, they'll all bounce around, screaming at each other, yelling at each other, bounce around, and if one guy gets separated from his pack, the other pack jumps on him and beats him, and then they bounce around. And no. Slavs don't do that. They just get wall on wall, 2 sides lined up, and just start beating the living shit out of each other until one side gives and runs. And Drago, no. He drinks of these puddles, and then I get to clean up the mess afterwards because he gets the runs, the squirts. So yeah, fun time for me. Anyways, so yeah, they would literally, there's videos that come out of this. Chinese, like a platoon of Chinese and a platoon of Indians. It's literally just on the border, start beating the crap out of each other. Luckily, no knives, no sticks or stones, and definitely no guns go into this. But they do a hell of a job of beating the crap out of each other. But now, thanks to Trump, who, by the way, seems to be calling Modi all the time now. Modi, I'm sorry I smacked you upside the head now. Modi, you know, I have to show Trump I'm serious. So I have to beat somebody. I'm sorry, Trump. I can't, I have to show Putin I'm serious. I'm Trump. I have to be serious. I can't beat Putin because he'll smack the crap out of me. And Russia doesn't give a damn. And China doesn't give a damn. Modi, let me smack you upside the head a few more times to show the others how serious I am. And it didn't work. I can't do it to Brazil because everything Brazil produces we really, really need. Yeah, because if you look at Brazil's sanctions, don't look at the sanctions, look at the exclusion list, which is about like everything Brazil produces is on the exclusion list. So the Americans aren't exactly sanctioning much on Brazil. Maybe lace underwear if the Brazilians produce lace underwear. But that's about the extent of that. So Modi said, yeah, Mr. Trump, you know what? We're not only not going to buy the produce that China is no longer buying from you, we're not even going to talk to you anymore. But it's going to get worse than that. That's right, Trump, apparently Modi has ignored 4 phone calls from Trump. Modi said, you know, screw you. I mean, I don't know which other way to put it. Screw you and the horse you rode in on, Mr. Trump. And it gets worse. Because, you know, there's a Russian oil pipeline that goes into China. That's already built. It doesn't go very far into China, but it goes into China from Siberia, from the oil fields. Because the Chinese do buy our oil, so we don't always have to ship everything by tanker. It's a lot cheaper to ship it by. It's a lot cheaper to ship it by pipe, obviously. So what's going on here now is looks like there's going to be a deal to extend that pipeline through China. China gets revenues through Bangladesh, so Bangladesh gets some oil and revenues, and into India. And there's nothing the U.S. Navy can do about this. That's the worst part of it for Mr. Trump. Oh yeah, and there's no U.S. dollars involved. You can't sanction it. You could bomb it, but that'd be declarations of war on many levels against 3 world superpowers. Well, the Indians aren't quite there on the military side yet, but they're getting there. I don't think the U.S. could handle that in any fantasy reality. I don't know, of course. You could ask Mr. Hodges there, and he'll tell you all about how all of them are inept, and the U.S. will just take out everybody because, you know, it can do that, or some such. Ben Hodges, the man, the myth, the fantasy writer extraordinaire. Yeah. He, Petraeus, and all these others are the epitome of what the U.S. loses wars. You know, how to become a general? Kiss lots of ass? Man, that's all you need to do, really. Just tell them what they want to hear and do what they want to say, no matter how asinine and stupid it is. And God forbid, don't remember that you're supposed to have honor or pride or anything like that, or resign when you don't agree, because you agree with whatever your master tells you, because you know what? There's a big fat paycheck waiting for you afterwards. That's right. So now we're gonna have a massive pipeline, and all of that oil that Europe used to buy is never going to be buying again, and nobody needs the Europeans, which is something they still haven't quite realized that. They are still under the impression. I mean, this is ego. This is ego on a level that's just cosmic. They are still under the impression, when all this is over, if Russia survives, and we haven't been able to kill Russia and take her apart and feast off her corpse, then we'll just walk back in and do whatever we want, just like it was before. You know, sorry dear, I screwed around on you with all these others. I just want to be back a part of our relationship like it was before. Well, nothing is ever like it was before. And neither will be any of the positions for the American companies or the European companies. Look, Exxon's trying to get back in. What does Exxon have that it can offer Russia? The most it had before was marine technologies for drilling, because Russia was always drilled on the on dry earth. It didn't really have the marine technologies. And in fact, I was regional supply chain director in Halliburton when we were supporting that operation between Rosneft and Exxon, drilling north of Arkhangelsk. And in the one wildcat well that Obama allowed them to drill, they hit pay dirt, light, sweet crude, 2,000 meters underground, giant area. The area for the bed for that oil field was about the size of present-day Moscow, so about 60, 70 kilometers across, and there's dozens more. There's an estimate there's about over $1 trillion worth of oil, sweet light crude, just in that one area. And Exxon was supposed to get 10% of that. Well, of course they don't, and they won't, and they didn't, because Obama said out. So force majeure, you're no longer part of this contract, and you no longer get anything. So Russia had to start investing in its own research and development to develop the technologies that Exxon was bringing to the table. Well, you know, once you start investing, there's no point in bringing that partner back in, because you got to justify your investments. So all these companies that think they're going to come back, especially when some of them have been gone for up to 10 years, no, you're not. Or if you are, you're going to get a very, very slim portion of whatever you had before. The market's been replaced, first and foremost, by Russian companies, and then by other companies from countries that aren't run by psychopath whores and strumpets. Oh, you know, like most of Europe. So, on that point, so Zelensky, well, he's got Ursula's backing. I mean, she's got his back. So he's continuing to attack the Druzhba pipeline, even as his army is getting routed up in Kupiansk. The siege of Krasny Limon is a week away, maybe 2 weeks at the most, maybe even less. The line seems to be collapsing at a much extended rate because they keep pushing more and more troops into Pokrovsk and into the breakthrough in the north, which, while they cut back the deepest protrusions, which are mostly made by infiltration groups. So these are small groups from 3 to 7 men. If they get a couple groups in, okay, so you got maybe a platoon-sized element in that area, they're not going to be able to hold against anything serious. But the main stem of that was done already and reinforced by Russian regular heavy infantry and armored units, and they can't do anything about it so far. So they're pushing more and more of their, I can't even call it a reserve because it's not a reserve anymore. They're pulling units off of other portions of the front. They don't have a reserve per se, and that's collapsing other portions of the front. And that's where you should get the robbing Peter to pay Paul. But the problem is some of that money, and then robbing Paul to pay Peter, but each time you get less and less money because some of those coins fall through your hands. So the reserves get smaller and smaller. And the men that are shoving in, as we saw, the casualties from the hacked documents are growing exponentially. Because they have even the minimal training they used to give these guys, they don't have time for that. They just shove them right in. There was an interesting admission, an interview from one of the POWs who was in a suicide battalion. And as he described it, he didn't want to be in a suicide battalion. He got mobilized, and he actually went in to update his documents without having his arms and legs busted up and shoved into a van. But he got instantly mobilized, even though he was about 60 and not in the best of health. So he said, you know, they took him to a medical. They took him to the next city over with a bunch of others in a bus to the medical. And I said they never did the medical, but they had different units come in. They instantly separated the young guys out from the older guys or the guys that are obviously sick. The young guys went off into other units that were combat capable units. So they'd actually get some training. Okay, this is all mud here, and we're going to turn around and go the other direction. It's dried up a bit, but so have to choose your walks. I mean, so much rain, 2-3 days of sun, and it only does a partial drying. So anyway, so yeah, he said since he was around 60, he wasn't taken into actual combat units that are worth anything to be trained up. Instead, he and the others were standing around, and they had another, quote, recruiters from another unit come in, and they said, oh, look, more suiciders. And they picked them right up, and off you go. You're good for one charge. So no training. Here's an assault rifle. Here's a couple grenades. Go do your thing and die with glory. He survived. He surrendered. And that's it. And you had this demonstration from the wives of some battalion or other, and these happen regularly in Ukraine, and they're complaining their husbands aren't being evacuated from the front lines when the front lines fall and they're forced to surrender. Okay, dumbasses. The best thing your husbands could do is surrender. Now going back in an exchange, a lot of these guys don't want to exchange. There was another interview from another guy. Like, I don't want to be exchanged. I know what happens to these guys in exchange. Some of them get worked over by the SBU and wind up dead. Others, the majority just get shoved right back to the front to die, to have a second go at getting killed. So, they're not going home. They're heroes while the media's there taking a video as they're being, taken back, and then they're instantly recycled right back to the front to die. They have a second chance of being a hero for Zelensky, a cold corpse. So, and these women are complaining that their husbands are having to surrender. It's like, geez, I guess you really want him dead, don't you? You're still not going to get any of his money. It's the only conclusion you can come up with. There was even a report in Ukrainian news, this is about a year and a half ago, one of these psycho, I can't call her anything but a psycho hoe, because you'll understand in a minute. I mean, the degeneration of the human mind is on full display in these couples. She gets her husband back alive. He was heavily wounded, required blood transfers. So he got blood transfusions, and of course the blood was from Russian donors. So the docs stitched him off. He's alive. Obviously not in the best of shape. He had serious heavy wounds. He got repatriated back to Ukraine, and she comes out with, I can't look at him. He has their blood in him. I don't want him touching me. He's not my husband. I hate him. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, wow, yeah, there's a good woman for you right there. You would have been better off if you just died. Damn it! Why didn't you just bleed out? I don't want you back. Yeah. So makes you wonder right there. And she tells this to the news, to the Ukrainian news, and she's a hero for that because look at, she's got principles. The principles of the deranged, which is basically Ukraine at its utmost. The principles of deranged. Oh, the more you read their news or look at it, the more you figure out how degenerated their minds really are. Degenerates. I mean, just the epitome of the word. So anyways, let's move on. So Ukraine is bombing the Druzhba pipeline, third time, pretty heavy damage, and the Druzhba pipeline isn't running. I can't quite understand one thing. The Druzhba pipeline does run through Ukraine, so I mean, I know they want the headlines. They could just blow it up inside their own country instead of hitting it in the pumping stations or what have you, infrastructure in Russia. I mean, technically, they could just blow it up inside Ukraine itself. So anyways, they've been attacking it again, and it's a pretty weak response coming from Orban, and that's who's given a better response, but still pretty weak. Oh, you can't do this. This is you're gonna make enemies of us. Blah blah blah. They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn how much they damage the Hungarian economy. But the Hungarians and the Slovaks have something over these little bastards. They do. It's called their populations inside their borders. Look, the Hungarians in Zakarpattia already had a referendum to secede. Well, maybe it's time to recognize the referendum and move the Hungarian army in. take that territory. You know, and if you look at it, it's not just Hungarians and Slovaks. The Poles, they have changed their rhetoric ever so slightly, but they're changing the rhetoric. And Poland has blocked any more aid to the Ukrainians. They blocked any more aid to the Ukrainians. And they will not, until Ukraine gets rid of all of those Bandera streets, Bandera statues, Bandera Nazi units, and so on, which they'll never do, of course. Absolutely, because that is their identity. That absolutely is their identity. So, since they won't do that, the Poles are no longer going to support them. So now the Poles are being threatened by the dick playing piano, the piano dick player. How much coke did the Zelensky snort before that? So he's threatening Poland now. Like, and you wonder why Russia hasn't killed off Zelensky. Why? You wind up with somebody halfway competent. This irritating little dwarf is really starting to piss off everyone around him. He's the best tool we've got. You know, get rid of him and get somebody that's actually diplomatic. Oh, that wouldn't be good. He's weak-willed, egotistical, and stoned. Mostly, you're dealing with a crackhead, basically. I don't know if he's actually smoking crack or just snorting the powder, the Colombian marching powder, but he's definitely on it, and that's obvious enough. And he's doing the damage that we couldn't ever do to his position. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I heard this other thing. I don't know if it's true or not. I hope it is. But apparently, General Kellogg's phone, Drago, come here. General Kellogg's phone has been cracked. It's not very encrypted, and the Russian security sources have been watching where he's been going. So he's doing all these little meet and greet, hand pump meetings all over Ukraine in different military areas with NATO officers and others, and then they get the Iskandar or the Kinjal follow-up thank you card. So, yeah, well, honestly, I could believe it. I could easily believe it. These older guys, they don't get encryption. They don't understand the modern technology. They're living in the 70s and 80s. And it is so beyond their comprehension for the most part. So, there you go. There you go. And, Poland says they're also not going to be paying for Starlink communications, whatever they're paying for it. And on top of that, now that the U.S. has set the precedent of deporting Ukrainians back to the hands of the so I keep mixing their name up. Well, the recruiters, Tetsaka. Yeah, there we go. Tetsaka. The kind hands of these recruiters. I mean, after all, these are the guys who are screaming how patriotic they are. They're ultra patriots. They're super patriots. They're far, far away from the battlefield, but they're absolute patriots. And they're doing their part. Well, now they're really going to get to do their part on the front lines. And when Poland said, you know, all the Ukrainians are legally in Poland, you're going back too. So, on the one hand, this means there's going to be more people we're going to have to fight and put down because these are rabid ultranationalists. On the other hand, a lot of these ultranationalists aren't going to be very ultranationalists for long. Now that their ass is going to have to start cashing the checks their mouth has been writing. And oh, whoops, you mean I'm really going to have to fight for what I say? No, that's not that interesting. So I think there's going to be a lot of them running into Germany and other places very soon. We'll see what Merz says. But, and considering who these people are, particularly these loudmouths, I'd say, the only safe place they have in the world is in Russia, but we don't need them. We damn well don't need them. Because we see what they are. They've proven themselves who or what they are. Their faces are all over these videos, and they are being cataloged by security services. So if they try to get into Russia, it's windy. If they try to get into Russia, because they've been kicked out or are going to get deported to the front lines from all the nice Europeans, And the Americans, well, we don't need them either. I mean, we don't. What do we need them for? We don't need them. They probably haven't changed their stripes. And if they were just faking it all along just to get money, then that's a personality type we definitely also don't need. So, you know, they're going to be running to the end of their line. And I think a lot of them are going to go into the criminal underground because they're not going to have a choice. The criminal underground in Europe from these Ukrainians is already starting to become insane. It's only getting so much worse. I don't think any of the Islamic gangs or any of these other gangs are going to have anything on these guys. There's going to be a lot of bloodletting in the future in Europe. Oh, and so, listen, about the Scottish girl. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's talk reality. Every man in the UK and in Scotland should just go chop his own balls off. I'm sorry, you should. You got a 13-year-old girl warding off a sex offender, a possible rapist. It was a foreigner, by the way, in the country, and protecting her sister with a knife and a hatchet. Where are the men in your country? There aren't any men in your countries. Because any real man, I mean, me, I would be past ashamed at this point. You have 12 and 13-year-old girls have to be armed to defend themselves against rapists, and the government arrests the girls and lets the rapists go. Yeah, normally in any normal society, I'm not talking government, just society, that would be the spark that starts a revolution. In the UK or Scotland, you got a bunch of soy boy, spineless, ballless wonders. I got no other words for these guys. I can't describe this in nice, correct, literal terms. These spineless pond scum that's screaming about, oh, she's so racist. Oh, because, you know, she should have given herself over to whomever that was that the other guy was from, whichever country he was from, wanted to rape her. Otherwise, she's a racist. Oh, and she's armed. Oh, how horrible. Seriously? You deserve to go extinct. I'm sorry. Scotland is ballless. Absolutely ballless. If it had any balls, there would be a crowd right now demanding her release and demanding the police and the government was gone for even going so far as to arresting this girl, this 13-year-old girl is protecting herself and her 12-year-old sister. I mean, this is past pathetic. This is not even human. Because I'll tell you what, whatever country these raping bastards come from, if somebody did that to their sister, or some woman in their clan, they go murder her. That's a double standard they all live under. The double standard you live under is you're allowing your children to be used and murdered, and you just complain a little, oh, this isn't right. Go do something about it. And if you're not willing to do something about it, go extinct. And just do the favor of taking these children and giving them to parents in another country that are actually going to defend them. I had a lot of respect for Scots. Right now I have zero. This has gone past pathetic. Zero. And the English, no respect either. Because the fact that the most you can do is a few demonstrations where your children are being raped, serial raped, gang raped. This is past pathetic. I have no other words. You're not a society that deserves to exist. God bless.